Hello students, this is Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Tarabikas is also going to be joining us, and today we're going to briefly review author attribution techniques in response writing and summary writing. And this is an extremely important skill to make sure that we use every time we are writing so that we can avoid plagiarism issues. So let's take a look. When we're attributing author information in a response, a couple of key pieces of information is that we want to use the author's last name if we have one, and we always have to use some sort of verb. And so whether you're directly quoting material or you're paraphrasing it, you need to stick to this kind of formula, if you will. And so when we talk about different verbs, this is a really nice way for you to be very precise and specific in your writing. So instead of just saying writes, you could say explain. So Garcia explains the process of egg donation. Or you could say proclaims. Ms. Tarabikas proclaims you must attribute your sources. And then again, you need to provide context or background. You need to kind of set the quote up or explain the paraphrasing. You can't just drop it and run into the paragraph. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. If I have an author who is cited and I know who that author is, simplest way to do this is to use the author's last name. So in my first example, I have a direct quote. And in this case, I've chosen to use my signal phrase at the end of the direct quote. And it says, writes Garcia. And so I have my quotation marks to denote a direct quote, my comma rule 5, guys, and then writes Garcia. Next, I have another direct quote, but this time my signal phrase is at the beginning. And notice in this particular example, I've also gone on to explain the context. So Garcia questions her choice to donate her eggs, and she states. And so in this case, I've given my explanation within my attributive signal phrase. Now in the last example, this is not a direct quote, but this is paraphrased specific information from the text, so I still have to give attribution. And so you can see in explaining each of the three drugs, Follistim, Lupron, and HCG, Garcia highlights her painful preparation for egg harvesting. So a couple of different examples of author attribution, each of the three examples, attribution being done in a little bit of a different way, but again, the consistency here is the author's last name with some sort of precise verb. Now, what happens if we have a text that does not have an author, okay? And I'm going to continue with our example of eggs for sale, just to show you. Well, in this case, you can do author attribution by using the title. And so in the text, eggs for sale, notice it's in quotation marks to denote the title. The author concludes the essay by stating, quote, egg donation has made me appreciate and value everything in life. And so again, instead of the author, this time I have the title, but then I still have my precise verb. Now, if I choose to do a paraphrase, I still have to do author attribution. So again, in this example, in eggs for sale, the author's initial motivation in donating her eggs was to earn money. I rewrote a section of that text. I paraphrased those ideas in my own words, but I still have to give credit where credit is due. So next, Ms. Tarabikas is going to come up and she's going to review author attribution techniques for summary writing. All right, here we go.
Yeah! All right, summary writing. So, Mrs. Hughes actually told you everything that you need to know for author attribution in any kind of response writing. But what if you're writing a summary where you're paraphrasing a lot of the material? One of the things you have to do is you have to remind your reader that, hey, these aren't my words, these are someone else's words. So what we use are special kind of transitions called summary reminder statements. What they can look like is basically just a very generic, short, sweet, simple, to the point type of transition. And what you can do is you can either use the author's last name or the title of the text, plus of course, a specific or a precise verb. You get in the picture? Precise verb. So, a couple of examples. Super easy peasy stuff. The author goes on to say, bam. The author makes a further point that. Or you can use the author's name. Donatel continues to explain that and then continue your paraphrase. Or if you don't have an author and you don't want to go back and cite any kind of author, you can actually just use the title of the text. Xenotransplantation, the ultimate organ factory, and again in quotations with capital letters, continues to discuss. So you want to pop those summary reminder phrases in there now and again, just to make sure that people understand, hey, this is what I'm just telling you about what somebody else said. Now what happens if your text actually has somebody else being referred to within that text? Oh my gosh! We've got a solution for you. So this is what you need to do. If your writer includes somebody else's words or another study or another text into their writing, what you need to do is make sure you cite both in one whole sentence. Yes, one whole sentence. So you need to either put your text title or your author with the information in the citation from your original text. So what do I mean? Something like this. You never want to do this. In order to define body image, Donatelle cites 4 components from another source. That's kind of boring and that doesn't lead me to where I need to be. Instead, you've got to put that source into your own writing so I know where to go to find it. What you want to do, in the green means go, in order to define body image, so there's your introducer, Donatelle, our author, cites, precise verb, 4 components from the National Eating Disorder Association, the NEDA. So you want to make sure if that additional source is in there that you make sure that you're citing everything that you can. So author attribution, summary reminder statements, go back in your paper, revise, edit, throw them on in there, and that's going to make your paper great. See you next time.
Yay! Oh, I didn't stop recording.